I am making my one in the PaintBox Wool Worsted. It's 100% wool and it's beautiful. I am using the Stormy Grey colorway and the blush pink. It's beautiful peachy color. I love it peach. It's all about peach this year. And 4.5mm hook. This is going to be my color B and this is going to be my color A. And we're going to start the square with color A. We will start a square with working 8 double crochet into a magic loop. I'm going to show you how I make my magic loop, but there are many different ways of doing this. I usually hold the end of the yarn in my 2 fingers here, then wrap the yarn around my index and my middle finger, and when I go on top, I cross the yarn over. Hold it down here. Then insert your hook under the bottom strand, pick up the top strand, grab your yarn, twist it, and then gently pull it out. Now, chain 1 to secure, and you will work your 8 double crochet enclosing this tail here, because this is the tail that we would use to close up the opening of our magic ring. So we have to make 8 double crochet. So into your ring, grab your yarn and pull it through, 2 loops on hook, yarn around the hook and pull it through both of the stitches. One more. Into the ring, grab the yarn and pull it through and through both. Okay, so that's what we have to make 2. So we've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Perfect. So then grab your tail and pull on it. You see, it closes up beautifully. So now what we have to do, we have to join our round, and when we join it, we have to change color as well to our contrast color, because that's what we will use on the next round. So slip stitch into the first double crochet you have made. Put your yarn to the side, grab the contrast color. Oops. Lay it down on your hook and pull it through the stitch you just entered and through the second stitch. And that's that. So now we will work with our gray yarn. So that's our perfect circle. So on the next round, we will work in spike double crochet and normal double crochets. So we will work the spike double crochet into the center of our magic ring. So we will start by making 1 chain, and then we will follow with spike double crochet. So you will enter your hook into the center of your little ring, grab your yarn and pull it through, pull it out a bit more, and you have 2 stitches on your hook. Pull it through both, and then you will make 1 double crochet into the same stitch though that the spike crochet has enclosed. So we're going to go into this one and make 1 double crochet. And again, the next one is spike double crochet. So into our ring, grab the yarn and pull it through, yarn around the hook and pull it through both of the stitches. And again, we're gonna make a normal one into this stitch here, hiding behind here. There we go, you see? So now another one, in, pull it through and into the stitch hiding. We have to do it all along. So we're basically working 2 stitches into every single stitch. So we're increasing by, oops, there we go. So we are increasing basically by 1 into every single stitch. And another one. See? It looks very nice, doesn't it? It's a lovely effect. And then Come out of hiding. There we go. And we're gonna do one more, and that will be our last one. And then double crochet into the hidey one. There we go. Okay, so we should have 16 stitches all together. We should have 8 spike stitches into our ring. You can grab on a tail from your magic ring, this one here, and pull it on the opening so it closes up even nicer. There we go. So now we have to close our round and change color. So we're going to go into the first stitch we have made, drop our gray yarn, pick up our color A, and we're going to slip stitch through both of the stitches with the new color, and that's it. So on the next round we will start our puff stitches. So we will start with the beginning puff stitch. We'll start with chain 2, and then we will work a 3 wrap puff into the very first stitch. So this is the stitch at the base of this chain 2. So basically a puff is half treble 4 together, but in this one, because it's a beginning puff, it will be half treble 3 together. So we're gonna go yarn around the hook into our stitch, grab the yarn and pull it through. So that's first wrap. Yarn around the hook again into the same stitch, grab the yarn and pull it through. So that's our second wrap. Yarn around the hook into the same stitch, grab the yarn and pull it through. So that is our third wrap. So now what we have to do, we have to yarn around the hook and pull it through all those wraps on our hook. You have to sometimes wiggle it around a little bit so it pulls out nicely. See? And now what you have to do is lock it by making 1 chain. Beautiful. So now we're going to chain 2, and we're going to miss the next stitch and make a 4 wraps puff into the following stitch. That's this one here. So yarn around the hook into our stitch, grab the yarn and pull it through. First wrap, yarn around the hook into the stitch, grab the yarn and pull it through. Second wrap, and again 3, and one more time 4. So that's 4 wrap puff. So now yarn around the hook and you have to pull it through all those wraps on your hook. Again, don't worry if it's not pulling out, do gently, gently, gently wiggle it around a little bit, pull it through this one, and 1 chain to lock it. And then chain 2, miss the stitch at the bottom and work a puff into the next stitch. Do it all the way around, ending with chain 2. So when you finish this round, it should look like this. You should have 8 puffs all the way around, and you're ending your repeat on chain 2, and then you're going to slip stitch into the top of the beginning puff. The top of the beginning puff is the chain 1 you make to lock it. So what you're going to do, you're going to insert your hook in the chain 1 that you use to lock your puff. You drop your yarn A and pick up yarn B. And finish off the slip stitch with yarn B. Oops. There we go. On the following round, we will work with double crochets and front post trebles. We will work the front post trebles around the spike double crochet that we created 2 rounds below. So this is what we will anchor our front post trebles around. So let's start with making 1 chain, 1 double crochet into top of the beginning puff, and then we're going to work front post treble around these 2 strands here. So we're going to go yarn around the hook once, insert your hook at the back We'll grab those 2 strands of the spike double crochet, like so. Grab your yarn and pull it through. You have 3 stitches on your hook, then yarn around the hook through 2, and then yarn around the hook through 2. So you see, it is anchored around the spike stitch very nicely. Then we're going to make 1 chain and work another front post treble around the same stitch as the previous one. So yarn around the hook, around the same spike double crochet, grab your yarn and pull it through, then yarn around the hook through 2, and yarn around the hook through 2. See? So it lies nicely in between the 2 puffs here, and we've got a 1 chain space here. So now we're going to work 1 double crochet into the top of next puff. So again, this is the chain 1 you used to lock it. And again, we're going to work front post treble, but this time around the second spike double crochet. So we're going to go yarn around the hook, grab the 2 strands at the front of the spike double crochet, yarn around the hook, pull it through, and then finish off the treble as normal. And now chain 1, and again front post treble around the same stitch as we have just worked on. So yarn around the hook, grab the spike stitch and pull it through, and then 1 double crochet into the top of the puff stitch. Okay, so then front post treble, I'm gonna do this again, so front post treble, but this time around the next spike stitch, so it will be this one here. So yarn around the hook, grab the 2 strands, the 2 legs of the spike stitch, grab your yarn and pull it through, and finish off the treble as normal. Chain 1, and another front post treble around the same spike stitch. Yarn around the hook, and grab your yarn, finish off your treble as normal, and then 1 double crochet into the top of next puff. So continue to work this way. So continue to work in 2 front post trebles with 1 chain in between and 1 double crochet into each puff until you reach the end. When you finish this round, your round should look like this. You should have 24 stitches all the way around and 8 1 chain spaces. And now we need to finish off our round by slip stitching into the first double crochet we made. And we're changing color, so finish off the slip stitch, the joint with the new color. Your yarn and pull it through. So now we are ready for more puff stitches. This time we will work puff stitches into each double crochet and into each chain 1 space. So we start with the very first one. So we will work beginning puff here, so chain 2, and then 3 wraps into the very first stitch. So it's this one here. So yarn around the hook. So this is the stitch at the base of your chain 2. Grab your yarn and pull it through. First wrap, yarn around into the stitch, grab the yarn and pull it through. Second wrap, yarn around, in, pull it through, and third wrap. So that's the third wrap. So what we're going to do is grab the yarn and pull it through all those stitches on our hook. Again, you might have to wiggle it around a little bit to pull it off nicely. Oopsie daisy. Oh, where you going? Come back. Here we go. And chain 1 to lock it. So that's your first wrap. Then we go into chain 1. We're going to miss this stitch and we're going to work a 4 wraps path into this stitch. What I want us to do while we're making this wrap, while we're creating this wrap, I want us to enclose the chain 2 from behind as well. Okay, so you go yarn around the hook into the chain space, so that the chain space in between the front post trebles. Grab your yarn, make sure you kind of pull it through the chain space behind as well. Grab your yarn and pull it through. So that's the first wrap. Yarn around inside the chain space, grab the yarn and pull it through. So that's a second wrap, and 2 more. 1 and 2. So that's 4 wraps. And now yarn around the hook and pull it through all those wraps on your hook. Again, you might have to wiggle it around. Occasionally it goes through very smoothly, and sometimes you get kind of caught a little bit. There we go. And chain 1 to lock it. Okay, so now chain 1, miss this stitch here, and 4 wraps path here. Yarn around through, 1 wrap, we yarn around, 2 wraps, so yarn around through, 3, yarn around through. So 4 wraps on hook, yarn around and pull it through all of those wraps. And chain 1 to lock. Okay, chain 1, and then miss this stitch, a path in between the chain 1 space, enclosing the chain space here. So 1 wrap, 2, 3, and 4. And then yarn around the hook and pull it through all those wraps on your hook. Perfect. Chain 1 to lock, and additional chain 1, and then miss this stitch, 1 wrap into this one. So continue to work this way until your whole round is finished. So when you finish this round, your square should look like this, well, circle at the moment, and you should have 16 paths all the way around. So you end your repeat on chain 1, and then you're going to lock this round by slip stitching into the top of the beginning path, which is the chain 1 we used to lock it. And then we're going to change color actually while we're doing this. 1 and 2. So on this round we will work with half trebles and front post double trebles. The front post double trebles are going to be anchored around the trebles that we created 2 rounds below. So chain 1, which I have already done, and we're going to work 2 half trebles into the beginning path. So yarn around the hook into the stitch, grab your yarn and pull it through. You should have 3 stitches on your hook, then yarn around the hook and pull it through all 3 of the loops. Perfect. So one more time, yarn around the hook into the same stitch, grab your yarn and pull it through, and then yarn around the hook and pull it through all 3 of the stitches. Perfect. So now we're going to make our first front post double treble, and we're going to anchor it around this front post treble. So yarn around the hook twice, insert your hook around the post of this front post double treble from 2 rounds below, grab your yarn and pull it through. We should have 4 stitches on our 4 loops on our hook, yarn around the hook, pull it through 2, yarn around the hook, pull it through 2, and yarn around the hook, pull it through remaining 2. So that's what it looks like, you see, and it anchored it around that front post treble here. So now into our next path we're going to work 2 half trebles. So into the top of the path, 2 half trebles, and then again we're going to work front post double treble, but this time around this stitch, so the next stitch. So yarn around the hook twice into your stitch, so around the post of the stitch from front to back to front, grab the yarn and pull it through, 4 stitches on our hook, yarn around the hook through 2, yarn around the hook through 2, oopsie daisy, and yarn around the hook through remaining 2. Perfect. See? So now 2 half treble into the following path, then double treble, front post double treble around this stitch, 2 half treble, front post double treble around this stitch, and that all the way around until you reach the end. So when you finish your round, your circle should look like this. You should have 48 stitches around, and we are ready now to join our round and start the following one. So we're going to slip stitch into the very first stitch that we have made, and we're going to change our color. So we're going to go to the nice little peachy color, grab your yarn and pull it through, and now we are ready for our next round. This round we will start creating angles to form our square. So we will start with, we will work in back post stitches, so back post half trebles and back post double crochet, and we will also add chains to start forming a square. So to work back post half trebles, we will start with chain 1. So we're going to go yarn around the hook from the back to the front, around the post of that stitch, to the back again, grab your yarn, pull it through, you have 3 stitches on your hook, then yarn around the hook and pull it through all 3. So let's do that again. So we're going to do one more back post half treble. See, it's wrapped around this post here of the first one. So now we're going to go around this stitch. So yarn around the hook, insert your hook from the back to the front, around the post, and then to back again, grab your yarn and pull it through, 3 stitches on your hook, yarn around the hook again and pull it through all 3. Okay, so now we have to make 8 back post double crochets. So just insert your hook around the post of the next stitch from back to front to back, grab the yarn, pull it through, 2 stitches on our hook, yarn around the hook through both of the stitches. So that's first, and you can see how the stitches are wrapped around. See? So that's 1. We have to do 7 more. Insert your hook from the back, around the post of the stitch, grab your yarn and pull it through, and pull it through both. You can see how it's wrapped around here, you see? So 1 more time. Here, from the back, around the post of the stitch, grab the yarn and pull it through. Ooh. 2 loops on hook, yarn around the hook and through both. So how many do we have? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So we've got 3 double crochet. So 5 more. Around and through. Oop. No, we're not making a slip stitch. Two, 3, 4, and 5. Let me see if we've got all together. One more. So we've got 2 back post half trebles and 8 back post double crochet. Okay, so now we're gonna go 2 more back post half trebles. So we're gonna go yarn around the hook, around our next stitch, which is this one here. Grab your yarn and pull it through. 2 and pull it through all 3 of those loops and around this one as well. So yarn around the hook, around your next stitch, grab the yarn and pull it through, and then yarn around the hook and pull it through all 3. So now what we have to do, because obviously we are trying to turn our circle into a square, we're going to make chains to create our first corner space of our square. So we're going to make 2 chains to form our first corner space. So 1, 2, and then 1 back post half treble around the next 2 stitches. So yarn around the hook, into the next stitch, well, around the next stitch really, grab your yarn and pull it through, and pull it through all 3 loops. Okay, so let's have a look what this looks like. That's the one. And 1 more, yarn around the hook, around the post of our next stitch, and pull it through all 3. And now we have to do 8 back post double crochets. So into this, around the stitch, insert your hook around the stitch, grab your yarn and pull it through, and through both of the loops. So that's 1. You see, you can see how it's wrapped around all those stitches. It's really nice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So that's our 8 double crochet. Let's just have a look. So 1, 2, perfect, 8. So now we have to work 2 back post half trebles, yarn around the hook, around the post of next stitch, pull it through all 3 loops, yarn around the hook, around the post of next stitch, and pull it through all 3 loops. And we have to make our next corner space, so chain 2, and again 2 back post half trebles here, 8 back post double crochet, 2 back post half treble, chain 2, and again. So you have to make 2 more sides. So far we've got 1 corner space, and this is the second corner space. So we have to make 2 more. So finish off the round in exactly the same way. So when we finish this round, it should look like this. So you see we have started forming our square here. You see you've got chain spaces here. So these are corner chain spaces. So our round ends on chain 2. So we have to work chain 2 and then slip stitch to our first stitch. But this time we are not changing color, because we will work the next round in the same color as this one. So now we have to continue to shape our squares, our sides. So we will start now on the next one. We will work from the biggest stitch, small stitch, and back to the biggest stitch. And our chain spaces will be filled with 2 trebles, chain 2, and 2 trebles. So we start our work with 1 treble here. So we will work 1 chain and a treble into the very first stitch. So that's the stitch at the base of this 1 chain. So yarn around the hook, into the stitch, grab your yarn and pull it through, and then through 2 stitches and through 2 stitches. So that's our first treble. And then just a little thing, I start my treble, it's not necessary, I started with 1 chain and then I work a treble. You would usually do chain 3 and then work in the next stitch. I sometimes do this, I sometimes don't, depends, but I sometimes do it this way with 1 chain only because it fills up the space a lot nicer. It's not necessary, you can just do it with 3 chains, it's your choice. So now we will work 1/2 treble into the next 2 stitches. So yarn around the hook into our next stitch, grab your yarn and pull it through and through all 3 stitches, and again yarn around the hook into the next stitch, grab the yarn and pull it through and through all 3 stitches, and then 1 double crochet into next 6 stitches. Insert your hook into your stitch, grab the yarn and pull it through, 2 loops on hook, yarn around the hook, pull it through both loops. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then 1/2 treble into the next 2 stitches and 1 treble into the last stitch of this side. So that's 1/2 treble, second 1/2 treble, and 1 treble into the last stitch of this side. Okay, so through 2. So now we have reached our chain space, and we will work 2 treble, chain 2, 2 treble, all into this space. So yarn around the hook into the space itself, grab the yarn and pull it through 2, through 2, 1 more, chain 2, and again 2 more trebles into here. See, so that's our corner space. You see, it's really beginning to kind of square out. So our circle is becoming square. So again, on this side, again, 1 treble, 2 1/2 treble, 6 double crochet, 2 1/2 trebles, 1 treble, and then your corner space is 2 treble, chain 2, 2 treble. So if you work this all the way around until you reach the end. So when you finish this round, it should look like this. So you see we definitely have a now defined square. Every chain space, every corner chain space is nicely filled, and it's really shaping up. So now we are ready for our next round. So what we have to do is slip stitch into our very first treble we made. We are changing color now, so let's slip stitch it with the gray. Oops. And we are ready for the next round. Now on the next round we will do a little increase in the middle of the row. Obviously we will be continue to increase on every single corner space, but we want to increase 1 stitch on each side. We will do that by working a spike double crochet. So what I want us to do is chain 1 and work 1 double crochet into next 6 stitches. So that's 1, continue with the very first one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then we're going to work 1 spike double crochet into the row, well, it's literally 2 rounds below. So not in our next stitch as we would have it here, but we will work it here. So insert your hook underneath the stitch from round below, grab your yarn and pull it through, 2 stitches on hook, and pull it through both of the loops. So now we will work 1 double crochet into every stitch to our chain 2 space. So that will be it should be 8 double crochets. So that will be 1. So basically every single double crochet is worked here, and this is just additional one. So if you're, let me just show you. So if this spike crochet is enclosing a stitch that you haven't worked, then you must work that stitch. I have, you see, because you see you've got it here, and the spike crochet hasn't actually enclosed my stitch because my next stitch is just poking out through here. So I can just work here. So that would be 8 double crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and my last one 8. See, so you have a little increase here. Okay, so in our corner chain space we will work 1 double crochet, chain 2, and 1 double crochet. So that's our increase on a corner. And now again we will work 1 double crochet into next 8 stitches. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Let's have a look. Yeah, so we've got 9 now with the corner chain space. So we're going to work spike double crochet into this stitch here. So insert your hook underneath that stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through, 2 loops on your hook, yarn around the hook, pull it through both, and now we have to work 8 double crochet, and now we have to work 1 double crochet into each stitch to end. So there should be 8 stitches. So that we're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then 1 double crochet, chain 2, 1 double crochet into a corner chain space. 1, 2. Okay, so work the last 2 sides exactly the same way, and then when you do this corner you've got still 2 more stitches to work here. So 1 double crochet into those 2 stitches here. So when we finish this round, our square should look like this. See, we've got those little spike stitches here. They create a lovely little effect. Okay, so then we have to finish off our round by slip stitching into the very first stitch, into the top of first stitch, and then changing our color, ready for our next round. Just change color. And we are ready now for the next round. So now what we're going to do, we're going to create lovely little spaces with half trebles and chains. So what we're going to do, we're going to start by chaining 3. Is this instant, the chain 3 counts as 1 half treble and chain 1. We're going to miss next stitch and work half treble into the following stitch. So we're missing the stitch which is at the base of the chains, and we're missing the following one because that stitch at the base belongs to those chain 3. So we're going to miss the next stitch and we're going to work a half treble, then chain 1, miss the next stitch and work a half treble into the following stitch. Work a half treble here. Okay, chain 1, miss the next stitch, work a half treble into the following stitch, and that all the way around, well, until you get to your corner space. So when we get into the corner space, we're going to miss the next stitch and we're going to work 1 half treble, chain 2, and 1 half treble into the corner space. So 1 half treble, chain 2, 1 half treble, and chain 1, and then miss the next stitch and 1 half treble into the following stitch, miss the next stitch, 1 half treble into the following stitch, in with chain 1s in between. Okay, and work all the way around. So when you reach your corner spaces, 1 half treble, chain 2, 1 half treble. So after this round, the square should look like this. You've got lovely little chain spaces everywhere. your corner. So now we are ready to join our round. So we will join it to the second of 3 chains from the beginning. Okay, we're gonna do this with our other color. And slip stitch it through. So now what we're going to do is work double crochets and trebles, but working trebles into the missed stitch from 2 rows below. So 1 chain to give us the correct height, 1 double crochet into the very same stitch as chain 1, and now we're going to work 1 treble into this space, this stitch here. So yarn around the hook, insert it into the stitch, but making sure that you bring it forward so it doesn't come over the chain 1 space. Yarn around the hook, pull it through that stitch, got 3 loops on hook, yarn around the hook, pull it through 2, yarn around the hook, pull it through 2. We will do that again. So 1 double crochet into the next stitch, and now a treble into this, the missed stitch 2 rows below. So yarn around the hook, into the stitch, bring the stitch forward in front of this chain 1 space, yarn around the hook, pull it through that stitch, 3 loops on hook, yarn around the hook through 2, yarn around the hook through 2. So your work looks something like this. So now what we have to do is repeat this all the way around. So we're going to work 1 double crochet into the stitch and 1 treble into the missed stitch from 2 rows below. And when we reach our corner, we will work 1 double crochet, chain 2, and 1 double crochet into the corner. Okay, so let's do that. So after you finish this round, your square should look like this. And all you have to do is just finish off the square by slip stitching into the first stitch you made. And that's it. Your square is now finished.